Now we're going to take a look at cross-sticking. I first want to tell you what cross-sticking is, and then I'm going to give you just some quick tips on how to best use cross-sticking within your drumming. Now cross-sticking is basically taking the drumstick, putting it on the snare drum, and then just hitting the rim of the snare drum. So that's one way you can play cross-sticking. Another way is flip the stick around, put it on the drum exactly the same, and hit the drum that way. Now, depending on the application, you might want to try and get a more open sound or a very short and closed sound, and there's a few things you can do for that. One of the things I like to do is don't put my fingers on top of the stick, but put it a little bit below the stick. So when my stick is sitting on the drum, it's not actually touching the rim. Right? Barely off the rim. And then when I go to play a cross stick, it pops off right afterwards, and the drum has a little bit more resonance, and it sounds a little bit better in my opinion. So that's the basics of cross-sticking. Now you obviously have to figure out, how to switch from just playing a groove into either flipping the stick or even just doing that. It's a little bit challenging, so to start off, I'd recommend just going back and forth between the two, like this. So take some time. It takes a while to get that, especially if you want to flip the stick over. It all depends on what sound you want, and you'll see drummers, it's almost like 50-50 what drummers are actually doing. So what I've done is I've put together 10 exercises, and once you get to the end of these 10 exercises, I promise you'll be familiar with cross-sticking and how to actually use it within your drumming, because these grooves kind of put you through the ringer a little bit. You have some Latin flavor with almost like a samba or bossa style groove, and then we end with even a songo style groove. There's some that actually switch in between cross-stick, snare drum, cross-stick, snare drum, all within one bar. So you'll definitely get familiar with it. So what I want you to do is learn these at 60 beats per minute, which is the first tempo I'm going to be demonstrating them at. After that, I want you to get them to 80 beats a minute before moving on. So if you practice exercise 1, get that to 80 beats per minute before you move on to exercise 2. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate them at 60 and then again at 100, because eventually I think you should shoot for a little bit faster, especially with the switching portion of it. If you want to switch between the butt end of the stick, or even just switching between the cross stick and drumming like that. I think it's important to be able to do that relatively quickly, at least at 100 or 120, because a lot of popular music is at those tempos. So here I go. I'll play them for you at 2 tempos, and we'll talk again at the end of the lesson. So those grooves sound pretty cool, hey? Now, cross-sticking is generally used for softer parts in music. So if I was to play a verse of a song, I'll use a cross-stick, and then to ramp it up dynamically in the chorus, I'll play snare drum. And so it's not generally used for loud music. You don't really hear it in metal or really hard rock, but you might hear it in softer parts of rock music, in jazz, light rock, lots of it in Latin, lots of it in funk, and that kind of lighter style of music. And so it's a really, really fun technique that you must know when going out and starting to gig and starting to play with different bands. You need to know how to play cross-sticking. So I want you to play all these, starting at 60 beats per minute. Get them all to 80 beats per minute. Play them for 2 minutes straight each. Once you can play them for 2 minutes straight perfectly at 80 beats per minute, you can go ahead and move on to the next section.